Hey, and we're live. Hey,
We,
welcome.
what up?
Welcome to Beats and Bourbon. I'm one of your co-hosts, John Kleinbell. Have the awesome Eric Campbell here.
What's up, folks? What's up, John? Good to be here.
What's good, Eric?
I'm good, man. It's good. Things have been a little bit of a whirlwind, but all going good. You and I, we just saw each other recently, and I think we've both been running crazy since
Oh man.
that conference.
Oh man. So describe your whirlwind for me a little bit.
So I think for me it's a lot of a lot of it's after the conference we just went to, which was a big film and TV conference. I guess we might talk about that during the show, but conferences always, I do more work after the conference, trying to stay in touch with people, trying to make sure that I have, relationships in place. And then sometimes there's good work that comes out of it. So I've had a couple of briefs post that I already had a crazy music schedule going into that. And I'm trying to juggle a couple of different things. I actually found um, a couple of courses that I'm trying to start. I always find new courses online. I'm always trying to learn something. So I found a couple that I want to jump into, and trying to balance that with creating music and building a community and sending out newsletters. And I just did my first TikTok today in like a month.
Man, yeah.
I've been off of it for a little while. I've been in music creation mode, so I actually haven't been doing content, social media content as much the last couple of weeks.
Well, that's as far as whirlwinds go, totally understand. That's certainly my experience when it comes to conferences. You go, you meet all these people, there's energy, there's all this prep work. I don't know about you, but there's also all this prep work that goes into preparing for the conference, and half the work you do really made a difference, and then half the work you're like, why did I do that?
That is true. Yeah.
It's so funny, but it's like afterwards most of the time you have like a list of at least 20 things to do immediately.
Yep.
If you can, and usually you can't. What's up, Mike? Let me let you into the stream here. How's it going, Mike?
Hey man, how's everybody?
Yeah, doing great.
Yeah.
Thanks for joining us.
Oh, pleasure.
Yeah.
So is this really Beats and Bourbon?
It is.
Beats and Bourbon. Can you see mine? My bourbon.
All right.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah, we go.
We gotta do this proper. Yeah.
I mean, if it's tequila or vodka, we're not gonna be mad, but yeah, it's Beats and Bourbon.
Okay.
That's right.
All makes sense.
So we were just talking about like whirlwind after the conference, and you were there at this film and TV, this Durango Film and TV Expo.
It was unbelievable. It's become my favorite event.
So cool.
Mine too.
South by is a blast for me. I get to meet people and see a lot of bands, but
cheers to Durango.
It's great. Just really getting to bond with people, getting to know people, hear a lot of new music, networking with my fellow Grand Poobah film and TV music supervisors. So I don't see that often.
Yeah, that's one thing that we talk about a lot too, is people who go to present to the music supervisors and the agencies that are there, is that event is such a great opportunity for you all to connect with each other.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we even just talking about what we all do, and it's like, how the fuck do you bill for that? What you can get away with that? Oh, cool. So we're a little inside baseball, but just talking about what they do, and it's just such a difference, from TV people, to people who do mostly commercials. It's just such a very, very different, day-to-day workflow. So it's kind of, cool hearing about what they do and talking about what we do.
It's cool hearing that from your perspective, Mike, because I always say that it's my favorite conference, primarily because of the FaceTime it gives me with supervisors. I think it's the only conference where it's that much amount of time. Most of the soups are very open and engaging, and a lot of other conferences I like, but you might sometimes you're listening to a panel, then you may have 30 seconds at the end to try to wrestle a moment with them along with the other attendees. But this is so so much more engaging. But it's cool to hear from your perspective too, that you also feel like it's your favorite. That's actually, I didn't realize that. That's cool.
I mean, just the networking alone, like you two guys. Now I have you guys both on my speed dial because I know you, I met you, I listen to your music, I know who you are. That's a big part of it. And you also have both have very good size and good quality catalogs. That's just a given. And kind of like anybody there is of a certain league. So at the very beginning of the conference, when everybody steps up and all the music supervisors introduce themselves and say what you're working on, I would never there say, get on a soapbox about quality, make sure your mixes are good. And it's like, that's a given. Everybody's at a certain level, that's almost insulting to say to people.
It's just a testament, I think, to the way that they run the whole thing. It's like they don't just let anybody into the conference. Probably helps. They help screen for some of the quality and stuff. So then you don't have to be giving those kinds of instructions, right?
Yeah, exactly.
It's good. Well, it's cool to be part of the family when it comes to that. To know it's nice as a music creator to know that your stuff is up to snuff, and that you're dotting your I's and you're crossing your T's and all that stuff. And it makes sense.
Yeah.
As far as we were talking about, like the overwhelm that can happen from after the conference, like all the things you do. I was curious, like on your side, is it the same after a conference? You meet new people that you're like, oh, I want to jam on this. We got to try to work together on this. And then you've got like 20 things to do afterwards.
It is. I have the bag and the notes. I have the bag of everybody's stuff. I have my notes. I sent my disco link, and I need, a better part of a day to sit down and listen to everything and organize it and remember. And that's something as a music supervisor I need to do anyway. I mean, that's, at the core of what we do, you've got to like come up with ideas, and you got to have your bag of tricks packed. So that's something I need to do. But it is overwhelming too, because you need to do it quickly, because I need to put names with faces. Like a couple of people I bonded with who one composer was doing I could tell she had some real classical chops, and she had some remixy stuff going on, almost, very contemporary in terms of the background noise of what she was doing. It sounded kind of fresh. And I know she can compose because she obviously has those chops. So that's somebody I need to hit up. That's another thing I need to go through and say, yes, her. Hit her up for any any beats and tracks, because she's probably great at underscores. It might be great for me to temp for some of the pharma stuff I work on, because a lot of that is always, a lot of it's piano driven, a lot of simple basic piano driven, but a little extra something contemporary. Anyway, that's just like one nugget that popped into my head. There's 15 of those from the conference.
So do you keep a running list like of people, team members, collaborators, who does this style? Like how anal do you have to get with all that kind of information from your end?
I actually had an intern lined up that I just lost, and that was going to be step number one, was doing some spreadsheets for me, organizing my contacts and putting them into categories. A lot of the time it's just in my head, to be honest with you. I just kind of like rock through, and from doing a search, who would be good for this, who would be good for that. But from this, I also make notes. Like there were a few people who their music was kind of meh when they played it to me, but I heard them perform, and like they're fucking performers. It's like, okay, now you go back and listen with those ears.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
So you hear the potential. Yeah, the potential there.
I mean, love following Carly and Martina. They're like great kids, and we've kind of like watching them grow up a little bit. And the best thing I heard from them the whole weekend, not that anything else was bad, like stepped above, they went and performed and did something acoustic. Well, the piano plugged into the wall, but it was piano and vocals, and that was it. That to me was the best thing I heard from them. They are doing a lot of pop production and good at it, but so that's kind of what I listen to. It's like, what are they doing, but what do I think they might have a core, something that I think they're especially good at. And if I want to remember them if something comes up for that.
Now, a lot of the times, because you're thinking kind of in teams, right? It's like who could work with who to get the job done. Is that kind of what you're thinking?
No, not too much.
No. More just like, I know that person can get the job done.
Yeah, I know that person get the job done. I can, I can produce or get a, creative director, partner, composer involved. So yeah, I guess I am thinking about who I can pair with. So if I'm, if this woman who did classical-esque cool arrangements, yeah, I might need to get a composer friend involved or an arranger friend involved, to help bridge the gap with the dialogue. Because I speak like, I've got a musical background. I've spent a lot of years behind the console engineering. I can speak to musicians and get what I want, but I don't have that legit education in music. So sometimes I'll need to bring somebody on to help me on that aspect.
That is great. That is just cool the way you think about it, and also the way just as you're meeting all these people. A lot of times we think of conferences, especially something like Durango, we think of those as, from creative perspective, we're going there looking for opportunities, and we don't always realize that people on the other end are making the trip with a wish list or goals, or there's something they're looking for too. And so it's not just one way or one direction.
Yeah, I personally am very sensitive to the fact that everybody there is there for a reason. And, I'm thrilled that I get my airfare and hotel paid for and get brought up there and get to meet all you guys. But everybody reaches deep into their pocket and they're looking forward to this and they're prepping for it. So they deserve a little time. That's the whole reason we're here. I learned that the hard way. I was at years ago, I was on the agency side for a long time. I was head of music at McCann at one point. It was just absolutely insanely busy. I literally had 50 projects going on at the same time. That's just the way life was for me. And I popped out of work, went to something at a conference. I don't remember what it was. A friend of mine sponsored it, invited me, and went and talked. And after it was over, I was like, fuck, I gotta go. And I was running out the door and somebody tried to stop me. And I probably wasn't the nicest because I had to go. And he said, fuck, man, I came all the way to from New Zealand for this conference to talk to you guys. Can you please give me 5 minutes?
Wow.
And I was like, oh shit.
Wow.
Sunk home, huh?
I'm glad he called me on it because I was being an asshole. And you know what? Yes, I needed work to get done, but the creative director who was chomping at the bit, another half hour wasn't going to kill him. So that was a big lesson for me. It's like, man, okay, got it. This is like his yearly promotional budget for his little company that he spent just to come talk to the five of us. We're busy in our own little world, but there was one of me, but there's a lot, and one of him, but there's how do I put it? There's a lot of him trying to get to me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I kind of didn't realize it because you get stuck in your own world and you're busy.
I'm so glad you shared that. That is great.
Totally understandable.
Yeah, I'm totally sensitive to the fact that people really step up and want to meet people. And any opportunity, it's good for everybody too. Both sides.
Yeah, you get like the personal connection too, which is just so important too, right? As creators, as people that are putting together campaigns. Like, I'm sure on a personal level, you make so many great friendships just through these conferences as well. I know that I do. All the different conferences that I attend, it's just you be some of the people that you meet, you become lifelong friends with.
Yeah, absolutely.
Very cool. Were there any like random subjects that you ended up finding yourself at this conference talking about that really interest you? Like, what are some things you like? What are some of your go-to like social things that you like to talk about? Do you like to talk about sports? Do you like to talk about movies? What do you like to talk about?
Shit. I geek out over classic rock a little bit. I actually love to talk about my kids when something like that comes up. That's a place I go pretty quickly. Yeah, I like to listen too. I'm a big believer in you learn more by listening than you do from talking on many levels of life. So I kind of like to listen and jump in.
I know you have one of your kids is a serious ballet. I want to say from ballet dancer.
Yeah,
and
she's with Cincinnati Ballet.
Wow.
Yeah, Pretty. So has she been doing that since she had? Is it? I've been told that like ballet is one of those things that you have to start when you're really really young and fall in love with it. Was that her story?
Yeah, pretty much. The age of 3, she said she wanted to be a ballet dancer, and she's that's just been laser focused all the way through.
Wow,
That's amazing because it's not easy, right?
No,
Very intense.
No, it was online homeschooling and training and coaching and traveling, and it was intense. And around the time she kind of jumped, I guess like when she hit middle school, that's when I started, consulting on my own. And yeah, it was great. I was kind of the ballet dad running around with the laptop and headphones everywhere, So, I kind of lived and breathed that. Now, my kids are out and on their own, but I love, when somebody's talking about their kids, and I just love to jump in. So that's a popular topic of conversation. And I have to say the Beatles comes up a lot. All the time. I have to say, I probably reference the end of the day in the life about once a week somewhere.
Man.
Wow.
Yeah, but that comes up. That's just a topic of conversation that comes up a lot, and especially with with the doc everybody saw.
I have yet to see that yet. It's still on my list. I have not watched it.
Yeah.
You don't have to worry about spoiling anything. I know the story, but I haven't watched it yet.
Yeah.
I'm pretty late to watching docs myself. I finally got around to watching the Muscle Shoals one and that they had on Netflix.
I did watch that. I love that.
That doc is so good.
That's good.
I probably watched that like 2 months ago. Like I just watched it recently.
Love the Bee Gees one. Bee Gees is good one.
I love the Bee Gees documentary.
I haven't seen that one
awesome.
Yet.
That was great.
I had no idea they were such kick-ass songwriters. I know they wrote their own songs, but holy shit.
They were one of the they inspired me to get into songwriting. I always loved the way they wrote their songs. For some reason, even as a kid, I knew or assumed that they were the writers, and they were one of my biggest inspirations. Just the way they did. They're just so melody driven. Like I love their melodies.
Yeah. So let me flip this question back on you guys. You're at a conference like this, and you want to grab people's attention and say hello and meet them. Do you have go-to subjects, things you do?
Oh, well, for me, it's a lot of times talk about sports. Honestly, there were some soccer games going on, and there were a couple people that were close to the TVs watching, and I just started getting into Premier League, and because Christian Pulisic is on one of the big teams, Chelsea, and I really started kind of following the English clubs and all that stuff this season. So there were a couple people by the bar that were watching one of the games, and I was talking them up about that. Sports is like always an easy one for me to kind of go into no matter what the conversation is. I'm just kind of generally a sports fan, and I don't know. Some people comment on like I'll have my a sleeveless shirt on and I'll just have my tattoo, and somebody might comment about that. And I don't know. I feel like it's one of those things where I used to be so intimidated by other people at conferences and thinking I needed to have like the cool thing to say. And the more I just do these, the more I realize all you just have to do is be yourself. And even if it's just like, hey, cool hat, or whatever it is, it's really not that hard to start talking to somebody. It's the fun thing. You get to like meet all kinds of people, and not everybody you're going to work with, and not everybody you're really like going to be doing something that you're even that interested in, to be perfectly honest, just because it's kind of outside of your area of the things that you're passionate about. But everybody's there for a reason. And it's like, if there's any way, one thing I have learned too in the industry is like, if I can help somebody, if I can help connect one person to another person, I'm always kind of looking for those opportunities. So I don't know, I just kind of see the whole thing as like, no matter who I'm talking to, there's a potential for me to either work with them, befriend them, or like possibly help them out in some kind of way. So
right. That's great.
Yeah, I love
connecting. Connecting is just a nice way to help people out. It's just good karma.
Yeah, I love connecting too. I find I'm not the best small talk person, so sometimes I'm not the best. If there's a lull in the conversation, I'm not always the best there's some people who are really good about either current event or sports or whatever, come up filling that. What I think I am good usually at is I'm a good listener and I'm kind of a good people person. So I can usually riff off of something that's going on right there, something you're wearing, something happening in a conversation, just more natural. But if I've had difficulty when I try to like enter a quiet zone and just say something to fill in that space. I usually don't do that well, and that's often made me. It's actually intimidated me about entering a conversation or walking up to people or starting a conversation with somebody they don't know. And I kind of had to learn that some more of my natural people skills. If I rely on that, then just being cool and chill and that personality, people seem to respond to that. So I just lean on it.
I like leaning into it. Like, okay, it's an awkward silence, guys. Who wants to break it? Also, in conferences, don't you get this sometimes too, where you're done talking with somebody and you're looking for somebody else to talk to, and there's somebody that you want to talk to, but that you can tell they're talking to somebody that they haven't met before, and they're trying to connect in some kind of way. Sometimes I feel like if I go in there and I kind of interrupt things, I don't want to interfere like the conversation that they're having already. So it's sometimes there's those kinds of situations that pop up, but it's I do feel like you meet the people that you're supposed to meet if you're open to it. I just kind of believe that. So, and I take that attitude into it. So I'm like, I'm going to meet some people. They're probably going to be cool. I'm just going to try to be cool, and we can be cool together and learn some stuff from each other, or become friends, or, whatever it is. It's, I will do the if there's somebody I want to meet or talk to, even if you're talking to somebody, I will do the shadow thing where you kind of like just stand on the outskirts of the circle and wait for an opportunity to get pulled in or to interject. You just usually, and sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't. But a lot of times if 3 people are talking and they're all engaged in the conversation, and I just kind of stand nearby, there's some way I can kind of work myself into the convo, and it's been pretty cool that way. Yeah, I see lurkers, people lurking and wanting to. So it's like I try to bring people in. It's good to do. And also that person in that conversation might be looking for an out. It's like, I've been talking. That's a good point. You can help me. Yeah, that was great before. What were you playing? Oh, do you know? Boom.
That is so true.
Oh shit! Sorry guys, I gotta go. Well, it's so funny. Like the perception. One thing that's interesting is like socially, like the perception that you have of a situation can be totally different from what is actually transpiring in front of your eyes. Right. Absolutely. It's fascinating, right? Yeah.
Very true.
Eddie, hi. See, we like to put the comments in here too when they drop in. Durango was awesome.
Yeah, it was good seeing Eddie there. Actually, a lot of people that John and I that we see online all the time in our communities. It was really cool getting to see some of them even after 2 or 3 years of chatting. For me, some of them I saw for the very first time and met them for the first time in person, and that was really cool.
Yeah. Did you make it to No, you didn't make it to the yoga class we had on Sunday morning, did you?
I was. Was there really? That was a yoga class Sunday morning?
Yeah, what's happening. I was like, damn, I would have totally gone to that. We last minute thing.
Oh, where and who did it?
Evolve.
Evolve.
Not off the top of my head. Blonde girl, younger, pretty. She's kind of a volunteer every year.
Anyway, I have to see her face.
She was saying she's a yoga teacher amongst like the 4 or 5, other things she's doing as a musician. I said, oh, awesome. When do you teach a class? Hey, yeah, people are so talented and you don't even know what they do sometimes. And you find out there's probably a few yoga teachers there, It's like, yeah, I know, but we'll instigate something a little better next year. Maybe organize it because it was.
Did you do it on the beach or something?
No, the ballroom up top. The ballroom's a good spot for it. That was great. Yeah. Did you you didn't have mats? You just used the carpet? We snagged the exercise mats from the gym. Oh, not ideal, but it was fine. Smart. Yeah.
It was a very chill class. So,
Yeah, we left our first thing because we drove to and from Tucson,
oh
and it
yeah.
was like a 9-hour drive. So we left early first thing Sunday. But that's well, yeah. I saw you on the way out.
Yeah. Oh
so
no, it was Saturday. It was Saturday morning we did it. Yeah.
Oh no, I didn't know about that.
Yeah. All right,
Very cool.
They should do it next year. We should get someone to do live music. Not that there's any musicians there.
No.
I wonder. We did a really cool thing at the Taxi Road Rally 3 years ago. Have you ever been to Taxi's conference, Mike? So
No.
I don't know if that's going back. They haven't actually done it in person for a few years now.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure when they're scheduled to go back. But actually, the very last one was my first time meeting John. The very last one I attended was my first time meeting John in person.
Yeah.
And Herman Briseño was my first time meeting him in person.
John who?
John Kleinbell, right here.
Oh, who's John? There's a lot of John.
There are a lot of Johns.
I think you guys are old sync buddies forever.
No,
well, yeah, no,
that long, I guess.
Yeah, but that was that 3 years ago? I mean, we had been online acquaintances,
but yeah,
maybe it was before the pandemic.
Anything that happened before the pandemic feels like it was 10 years ago. So it was like, at least to me. So,
but one of the things I brought that up because one of the things we did at that conference, they had a live jam session. They put a bunch of instruments in their ballroom, and you could just kind of like jump on the drums, jump on the bass, and
that's great.
Herman and I jammed out, and a bunch of other people. I was playing the drums, and it was just like fun because you weren't like performing, you weren't pitching anything. It was just come out and vibe, and people were in the audience who were just like listening to you vibe. And I hadn't actually, I don't perform live anymore these days, and so for me, music is all about like creating something to pitching something, and I don't like having an opportunity where it's just pure, just making music. Like I don't know about you, John. I don't get to do that much anymore.
I mean, I was
all work for something.
Yeah, I was performing for years and years and years, street performing on the 3rd Street Promenade, playing showcases all over LA, and that was my thing. I was trying to become the next John Mayer or Jason Mraz, and you know, since I started producing and writing for Sync, it's been totally like you're describing, just stepping away from live performance and really focusing on the writing. And it's like, if I were to play a showcase now, I wouldn't really know how to do it because I'm not practicing the songs to perform in front of an audience. It's like a totally different set of skills in a way.
Yeah.
But I miss that connection. That connection's so cool. And now that I'm in Nashville, I just keep thinking, oh, go check out an open mic. I just play like one song or something like that. Could be fun, you know? It's
you in Nashville?
Yeah. I just moved here in December.
Do you know Shelly? Did you meet Shelly at the conference?
No, I didn't.
He's does a couple of open mics. He runs a couple of places. I'll connect.
Okay. What's his last name?
If you want to do it, Shelly Riff.
How do you spell last name?
Riff.
IFF. Awesome. Yes. I would love to do that. It'd be fun.
He's a great guy.
I will say that's the one thing about Durango that's because like you just mentioned 2 people that neither of us know, and we've been like 4 years, but it's like because we're in one group and you travel with that group everywhere, you don't always get to meet a lot of the other people. That's actually the weird part about the conference.
Yeah. So I'm curious, do you guys put a lot of time into because you both compose plus have pretty deep catalogs. So how do you pick the cross section of what you're going to pitch?
That's tough.
For your 10 minutes. And do you kind of curate it to who's in the room and what they work on?
Well, this year was the first time that I decided. I've always been a jack of all trades. It's always just been the way I've been wired since birth. And I've fully embraced that. But this is the first time that I was like, you know what? I'm mostly just I'm going to put a reel together that's going to be all ad friendly, up tempo, fun stuff and just pitch that and see what the response is. And it turned out great. Like actually it was probably the best presentation that I've given at any of these types of events because I just kind of like made it a little bit more focused with the lens. And that was kind of made it a lot easier to put the package together too, because I didn't have to think too much about other genres. I could think about like, okay, everything's going to be in here, so I just can only focus on the things that I have here.
Right.
Yep.
I was similar to John, actually. I looked at all the speakers that were coming. I looked at who I wanted to approach and who I already knew, who I did business with already, and who I didn't know. And I decided that focusing on ads would probably be the best approach. You know, because ad stuff also can work for promos, and there are promo people there, and some of the TV people, if they were looking for different hip hop or Gen Z stuff, then I would switch. So I mostly did ad stuff. And I had a few comment, like, I really like your presentation. Fortunately, I'm more looking for, I need some, more radio type hip hop or Gen Z. And so for those people, I made a separate playlist later. Hey, I also got this, boom, just so, but
smart.
The ad was still enough for them to know, okay, you don't have you may not have what I'm looking for, but I love your presentation. You got quality stuff. And so I could come back and still say, I also have this. And so check it out.
I think that's great. It's a lot of it. I listen for that all the time. If something I know I'm never going to use, but it's done really, really well, I want to take a deeper dive and to see what else they have, what else they can do.
Well, that's interesting to know about you and folks like you, that, if you hear like the potential in one area, you're like, oh, it makes me more open to checking out the rest of whatever they have.
Yeah. Oh yeah. That's just me. I can't speak for anybody else, but yeah, I just react to musicianship and quality. If it's something that grabs my attention, it's like, I want to hear what else you can do, what is in your wheelhouse, what you consider your wheelhouse, what maybe I'll interpret your wheelhouse as.
I'm curious. I got a little follow up here, Mike. I'm curious just because you've heard so many songs, and obviously everybody's opinion on this is going to be a little different, I think. So it'd be really interesting to hear your take on it. What is it about a song that grabs you?
Damn.
Like if you had to focus on like a couple of things that tend to grab you more than anything.
Let's see. I got to think about this. I say simple and good, first of all. A simple melody for me, something memorable. I mean, I love cheesy 70s pop songs. I love cheesy pop songs. I've been working in the world of jingles for I started out, it was jingles, but it's music for commercials, which is branded music. You need something branded takeaway. So that's what I listen for. Something that I can, basically hum or remember after you finish playing. So if the hook's stuck in my head, that's a good thing for me. I also love unexpected sounds. That's just personal taste. So like I've done, let's say the workflow of me doing a music supervision gig is I reach out to a bunch of people. I go through a bunch of songs, what I call my, I do my DJ part, which is just me doing what I think will work. Then I'll do reach outs and get all this shit together, go up and have a bourbon, come back a few hours later. And if I'm going through everything, sorting my presentation, I hit points where it's like, shit, everything is kind of sounding the same. And then I hear something quirky or something different that just kind of like pops out because sonically it's a little unique. That pops out a lot and that works a lot of the times for ads, just something that's kind of, a little memorable. Sometimes in the world of advertising, there's time for just a rug, that's okay. But that gets done. Somebody picks it. You don't need my expertise for that. That's fine. My expertise is finding something, cool and memorable. It's going to take it to another level. So yeah, I listen for something, a takeaway. It could be a hook, but it could be also a sonic takeaway of some kind, or maybe a vocal line that I hear that's very intriguing. Like something that maybe it's a vocal line that asks a question versus making a statement, and it's a really cool question. So maybe I'll walk away remembering that. So it's hard to define.
For sure. I mean, it's got to be, but you gave a couple of things that it's like, it seems really simple to just come up with something that you want to hum afterwards that gets stuck in your head, but it can be kind of a challenge, right? Or coming up with like an angle that you haven't already heard 10,000 times before. With
it's tough. It's tough.
The instrument or the voice or whatever it is.
Yeah. Yeah. It happens all the time. I mean, Coldplay drums has become a thing for a temp track. You know, it's always derivative of something else. You know, that's the tough part for me. Yes, I think that's a bit of a difference between film people and commercial people, or TV people and commercial. TV folks are often looking for replacements. You know, James Brown. I need to replace James Brown. What do you got? You know, for me, it's like, wow, okay, James Brown is a reference track. They can't afford it. What else is going to be cool? An inside out version of a James Brown track is just going to be derivative, and everybody's going to hate it because they have demo love for James Brown. So we got to, like, you know, shit, I got to get everybody to take a bite of cheese, take a sip of water, cleanse their palate. What else can we find that's going to be equally cool, but not that? Because it's a, you know, you wind up chasing your tail because they fell in love with something they can't have. And then you're giving something that's theoretically not as good, potentially. I mean, it could be as good, but it's, you know, it's fucking James Brown, and it's iconic, and it's memorable, and it's in there somewhere.
Yeah, they want sugar, and you're giving them some nasty kind of artificial sweetener. It doesn't work, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, totally. Stevia? Really? Come on.
Oh man, I didn't realize how strong stevia is, or I don't know how you pronounce it.
It's so strong.
It's so strong. You just put like a tiny little, like they give you like a little micro scoop when you buy it like in bulk, or you buy like the package of it. And I remember the first time I used it, I put like half a teaspoon in my drink, and I just spat it right out in the kitchen. It was just so sweet. It's super nasty.
Yeah, totally.
A lot of that goes a long way.
My wife made this. My wife is a baker, and she's tried to substitute stevia for some things. And her first big experiment found that mistake that, oh, if it calls for a cup of sugar, do not put a cup of stevia.
Yeah.
That's like enough to kill a horse or something like that. You know, there's got to be some kind of, that's not good.
It's very bad. It's very, very bad.
Man, John, thank you. I'm going to use that analogy a lot. We're going to get a lot of mileage out of that in meetings.
All right, great. Yeah.
All right. Guys, I'm going to take away your sugar and give you stevia. Come on.
Yeah.
Give me a day. Let me give you a couple of other ideas.
Give you something that satisfies, you know?
That's funny. So, Mike, I wonder, do you, because musicians, we talk about this all the time, composers, creators, we talk about this, but you've been doing this for a while, and you're listening to music for work, for placement. Does it affect your pleasure listening? Are you able to listen pleasure? Is your pleasure playlist and your work playlist totally different? Are your ears good? How does that work?
Everything's polluted. It's all crisscrossed. Yep. I like drive in the car, and I like make myself listen to an entire song. I make myself, because I listen to, you know, I don't know, new folk on Spotify, the latest playlist, just to kind of catch up with stuff. You know, I'm like 5 seconds, boom, 5 seconds, boom, you know, going through. It's like, no, listen to us. All right, now I'm going to listen to everything and give it to the first hook. And make sure I listen to the first chorus. I'm not going to do a thing.
So interesting.
It is.
There is guilty pleasure listening.
So yeah, because it's one of those things. I've thought about this too. I'm like, oh, I wonder if folks, because we do these listening sessions where we bring people in who want to get their music put into ads, TV, and film, and we bring folks like you, Mike, in who are amazing at giving feedback, and you'll say, like, often it's like, you know, you listen for 5 seconds, and if it really pulls onto your heartstrings or just like really intrigues you, then you'll keep listening. But otherwise, it's fast forward, move on to the next song. And so I always kind of wondered if, like, you know, just as you're like casually listening to the radio or something like that, if you do kind of the same thing. And it sounds like sometimes you do. And then sometimes you're like, oh, you know, I'm just going to like let myself enjoy this. Or maybe it's just like, I'm going to force myself to listen through this because there could be something cool that's in this song that I haven't heard yet, or just something that I need to like keep up with the kids and what's cool now, you know, or something like that.
Right. Exactly. So yeah, this afternoon I had to do some driving around, and I went down a Jim Croce rabbit hole. I just did guilty, cheesy 70s music.
I love Jim Croce.
Jim Croce, Three Dog Night, you know, all down, just sing along stuff. And it was good. It was just fun. It was just fun. And since it's familiar, I didn't feel like I had to listen to, you know, new stuff. So there's, you know, for me, it's discovery and familiarity. That's how I kind of categorize my listening.
It's funny, just randomly, Bad Leroy Brown is like one of my just kind of go-to songs that if I am looking for something I want to listen to, it's one of those songs that just kind of fits so many situations that you want to, you're driving in a car or whatever. It's just such a fun song.
Yeah. I mean, it's a story. It's like the best fucking session musicians played on that album in whatever it was, 1970 something, you know, it's like whatever, Steve Gadd, and I don't know who's playing piano, but yeah, so it's fun on every level, and it's, you know, it's not serious. It's a semi novelty song.
But it's so well written.
Yeah,
it's such a good story and such a funny story, and I don't know. Yeah,
it's hard to find new albums now for me that make me forget that I'm critical listening all the time. Once in a while it happens, and it's great. I have to say, everything Taylor Swift's done in the last few years does that for me. I'm engaged and I want to listen.
I'm like that too with her.
Yeah. I'll definitely put it on, and I forget that I'm listening to the album a lot of the times. I'll just kind of drift into the music, and then I'm just experiencing life with the music, and it's great when you feel that way about a song and it takes you into a larger journey. It takes me back to those times when I think we've all had those times, at least those of us who are a little older, where we used to like be excited, take the album home from the record store or wherever, if we got it in the mail, take it home or take it out of the mailbox and throw on the headphones and just listen to the music from like beginning to end of the album. And, you know, just, I do miss those times. I can't remember the last time I just did that. You know, it just makes me think I should do that tonight. You know, it's like, it's just been forever since I've done that. And it used to be like, that was my go-to experiencing music, especially a first album for the first time. Just like a lot of times, like turning out the lights, put on the headphones, experience it from beginning to end, and just see where it takes me.
Right. You guys ever, when you're composing, producing, working with people, do you ever get to that point where you forget you're working for a few minutes and kind of get lost in the song? Or you kind of always on your game and, you know, on your toes?
I have to think about that. I think if I'm honest, I am probably always, even when I'm in my most creative, in some kind of business, I'm always business mindful. Like there's not a lot that where there's not a lot where I totally cut off where I'm not thinking about what this is for, where it might go, even as I'm writing it, it's like I'm doing both simultaneously. I'm totally creatively engaged, but probably not like, that's one of the reasons why I was saying, even when we went back to that jam session where I was playing the drums, that was like the first time in so long that I was just doing something creative and there was nothing tied to it, no other thought, no other what's this, you know, is this part of my overall strategy to get from this level to this level in my life, where everything I do musically is part of that thought. It's chess playing, it's, you know, and so I don't get a lot where it's just, I think honestly, if I were, I probably would be sitting here at the piano and just going ham into like deep creating some type of classical sonata or something. And I never let myself do that because there's always some work to do. Yeah.
Right. Interesting. You're talking about, in a way, you're talking about wellness, that you're in that moment when you're playing live, like you were doing with, you know, that's all you're thinking about is that moment. It's almost like meditating.
Yeah.
I was going to say, you guys also, though, whenever you're creating music, no matter what level you're creating, you're also, you know, you're running the buttons, right?
Oh, this is true. When I was first starting out, it's just like I didn't even know how to like run a session at all, didn't know how compressor worked, didn't know how to get the sound routed to the headphones. So when the vocalist was getting ready to sing the vocal, I wasn't sure exactly when I pressed record if they would be able to hear what they were singing while they were singing it. So at first there's that clunky area, but then once you get comfortable with the equipment, at least from me, when I get into a creative zone, a lot of times it's like you're writing or you're producing, but then sometimes you're writing while you're producing. And for me, like usually all three of those states, I drop into a state of creativity. And it really is like, for me, kind of like I have to kind of let go, because it's like, I really feel like the creativity just comes to you, not something that you engineer. And so for me, it's like I just try to get out of the way of the creativity that's coming to me. And if I'm doing it with other people, like just try to hold the space of creativity for all of us as best I can. And then that's where the magic happens. And then the time flies. And you're in a sweet spot when, you just started writing a song and you were like 4 hours later, the song's done. And we're like, I don't know how that had happened at all, but here we are. And we've got something. The thing that's amazing about it is like 4 hours earlier, nothing existed. But now 4 hours later, we've got this killer song that has it's actually come to life. We've actually put it onto a recording, and it's something we can send to people. So it's amazing. I don't know. Being in the music industry is so fun. I love it. I wouldn't trade what I do for any job out there. It's and that's like, I mean, honestly, I think I would like to think that anybody who's in the music industry and is doing it for real, it's like life's way too short to do stuff that you don't love. So I just for me, that's like, it's one of the sheerest joys I get in life, is being able to create and share with other people. And you share those moments, like the stuff at the conference. I've had so many stories too, where it's like you make lifelong friends in the studio and creating songs together. And that's like part of the greatest joy of life, is sharing creativity with other people and making stuff together. It's amazing.
Yeah.
Totally agree.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. It's funny when I do I partner with people a lot because I like working that way. But if I'm doing a gig on my own, let's say it's a music supervision gig, and I've got my 15 amazing fucking songs that's going to blow them away, and I want to send them in. Before I hit send, I reflex, like, look over my shoulder, because there's there's supposed to be a band with me, or a collaborator, somebody else saying, something. But it's like, oh, all right, shit, just me. Click.
Where's your soundtrack?
Wait a minute.
Guys, such an amazing creative skill you guys have that I respect, is being able to have the technology and the creativity, fused together and not lose track of one or the other and just keep it flowing. That's really hard.
It's a challenge.
I think, and I think we all have our ways of balancing those. I think for me, a lot of times, my creativity has always been the ideas, right? It's like this idea for a song, and this idea for these words, and this idea for how these different sounds can work together. And so over the years, what I've done is I've learned to capture that idea somewhere, whether I'm just scatting on my iPhone, or a lot of times it might happen if I'm shaving in the bathroom mirror, or if I'm just scatting while I'm out taking a walk or whatever. And so I've learned to capture all those ideas in those places. But when I'm sitting at the studio, a lot of times I am more in technical mode. I'm really more like, the idea has already been captured. Like that work was already done. Now it's like taking that and then bringing that to life. And so a lot of times when I'm sitting pushing the buttons, I'm really more being the technician, because I've already had the idea and it's sitting there and I've captured it and I kind of got it to shape. Now I just need to bring that to life the way that I envision it.
Mm-hmm. Do you prefer, I'm questioning you guys now, do you prefer writing to brief, having some direction given to you? I mean, obviously there's a monetary goal when you're writing to brief, but creatively, writing to brief versus having an idea for a song?
I think it's a good question. I really don't prefer one over the other. And it's pretty amazing too. I was talking about, I mean, I don't know, this might sound a little hippy dippy, but it's whatever. I don't really care. I come from hippie parents. So I feel that the things this like I was talking about earlier with the conferences, how I really do believe that like the people that you're supposed to meet and the people that you're supposed to connect with, you're going to meet them and you're going to connect with them. I do believe that the ideas and the things that are presented to you, the opportunities that are given to you for a reason. So if that's the case, then it's just a fun assignment. And a lot of times I'll find some synchronicity with like something I was singing into my phone that's a cool idea 2 days ago and the brief that was just given to me today. So it's like, oh, it's a lot of times too, it's not like one or the other. It's like almost there's like a blend of that I can take stuff that I was already wanting to make anyways and put that towards the brief. Or it's also totally fine to start from scratch. It's just fun to start from scratch on stuff too. For me, it's just like the faster you just get better and better over time. And it's just like, in a way, it almost becomes like Sudoku or some kind of fun creative puzzle. Like you're given an assignment. Okay, let's do it. And, I don't know if this is going to be the best song because I've never quite written something like this before with this theme or that type of genre or this type of beat or singing in this style of music, but just being open to it, see where it goes, bring in people if I need help. Cause a lot of times I need help. I can't sing every single kind of style of music, even like a quarter of the styles of music that are out there. I can't play like a quarter of the instruments that are sometimes needed in a track. So a lot of times too, it's like, okay, it can be a fun invitation to involve other people in my network. And it's just more opportunity to get to collaborate with friends. So I feel like it's whether I'm writing something that's for a brief or just something that I want to write, it's going to be a good time. And I don't really prefer one or the other. I do think that, like you were saying, that carrot that kind of comes with, writing something to the brief, even if you don't get the brief, a lot of times the songs that you write to briefs end up being something that's valuable later.
Absolutely.
So,
there's a lot of common themes for sync.
Yeah. It's funny hearing John explain that because I feel the same way. Before I did sync, I was pursuing an artist career, writing songs for artists and pitching songs to artists. And a lot of the times you walk into studios, you might be put on the spot, like, here's a track, can you write to it? And so that discipline was similar in terms of already having lots and lots and lots of ideas and having a way to capture them. And then whenever you're put on the spot for something, more than likely you already have worked on some kind of idea that was similar or in a similar place. And a lot of us musicians, we have a jukebox in our head of songs we've been listening or spinning around from when we were kids or remixes we've been thinking about. So most times briefs tend to tap on something that was already fermenting at some point or, growing or brewing in some way. So it's actually pretty cool. I don't think I've yet to, I like writing to references because it helps focus me. Yeah. And I like writing to briefs because even though the reference is giving you a direction, more than likely it was already something somewhere at some point I was thinking of along that line. And then I can now it gives me an opportunity to bring that together, to bring that idea out.
I love hearing that because now you're taking a brief and you're putting your own spin on it because that's what you're hearing and that's what's going on in your head.
Exactly.
For myself, that's what I'd love to get because if I come up with a brief and I wanted exactly what I said, I'd write it. But that's not my great skill set. My great skill set is coming up with an idea and spinning it off to people and make it better.
I think that is great.
Yeah, that's cool.
Do you play any instruments, Mike?
Drums.
Drummers.
Cool.
Yeah.
Wait, John, are you a drummer too?
No, I'm a singer. I have no formal music training. I play guitar and sing and I program everything else. And I have a lot of friends who are really good at playing all the different instruments that I'm not good at. So
drums is my first and favorite instrument. It's my first. I call it my riding my bike instrument. It's the one that I can always pick up at any time.
Really?
I play a lot. I play keys and violin and saxophone, but all those I probably wouldn't jump on stage like without having to really go back and warm up and get back in performance mode. But drums is like just give me the sticks.
Did you? So was piano your second instrument that you trained on? Or violin?
You locked up on me.
Oh, I was going to say, can you hear me now? Am I back?
Yeah. I can hear you.
Okay. I was saying The first melodic instrument you trained on, was it piano or violin?
Piano.
Piano.
I started piano and drums at the same time. I did them both when I was like 6, and then violin I started in like middle school. And violin was middle school, and then saxophone, but was high school. But piano was the first, and so I started them both. But drums was the first love. Like it's the instrument I identified with. It's the instrument that others I kind of learned to learn. I was always curious about different instruments, but drums is where I would go to like relieve stress, which is why I think it felt so good even playing at that jam session, because it's the instrument where that's when I'm in the zone and I don't care who's watching. And I don't think any other thing I do musically I can say that. Most other times I'm engaged, I'm connected to the people. I might be thinking about what this is for, who's watching. But if I'm playing drums, I black out. It doesn't matter. Like, there's nobody else in the room with me but me in the drum set. It doesn't matter what's playing or what's on.
Nice. So it's your happy space.
It is my happy space. It totally is. Yeah.
Yeah, we all got to have the things, those healthy outlets of aggression too. It's like I think to myself, I'm like, I for me it ended up just being dodgeball. Like, that's how I was able to get my aggression out. I was being able to throw balls at people and all that stuff, and just really fun, like kind of aggressive sport. But like, I wonder why I was never like, I should have played drums. I should have played the drums.
So dodgeball, outside of like 5th grade, you play dodgeball?
Oh yeah. I actually wrote a book. I wrote a book about dodgeball. I played in rec leagues for like 14 years, competitive rec leagues, and not like, they're serious games. Like, and I've done everything from like won different championships, different tournaments, and things like that. I actually won a championship with a team that I was on the Staples Center floor one time. It was super fun. But it's an intense sport. It's a very strategic sport. You think it's like, throw and catch. It's actually it's like Eric was talking about chess earlier.
Yeah.
Very strategic game, because you're counting the balls that you have, because you don't want to give all the balls to the other side. And then there's different like roles for people on the team. Some people are like really good at throwing, but you need people who can catch the ball, because those people are in some ways like the most valuable people on your team, because they bring people back into your game. So I don't know, man, it's a huge rabbit hole. That's part of the reason why I have this tattoo is if you can dodge a wrench, you can dodge a ball. From Dodgeball the movie. Yeah. Been a dodgeball fan my whole life, and found these crazy people who were playing it in LA and did it for like about 14 years. So
wow. Do you have a Nashville game?
Not yet. I've been thinking about doing an open gym here to start. Starting a league is it's a whole thing, because I think either way I'm going to have to get the insurance stuff figured out, because if somebody breaks their arm or whatever, it's like
it's like booking a really, really big band for rehearsals. Totally. Next Thursday at 7. Okay.
Yeah, we gotta, just gotta get everything organized. I'm good at like organizing stuff. I just gotta figure out. I think there's gonna be a lot more places that I'd be able to like organize a game here in Nashville than in LA, because LA is a little tougher, because it seems like there's less spaces that are open and available, and it seems like that people would love to play dodgeball here. I think it would be like a really fun way to connect with other musicians too, because I think it would attract a lot of everybody here is in the music industry. So
I think it's a no-brainer.
I've been thinking about doing it just to break the ice here, and make some more friends here.
Yeah. Good idea.
I miss it.
Guitar players aren't going to go though. Guitar players aren't going to play.
Actually,
I'm going to jam a finger.
Man, I had the same problems. Actually, it was kind of the reason why I quit. Was I broke both of my pinky fingers in between like a 2 or 3 year period between, but it definitely like put because it's like, these are my money makers with like DAW and all that stuff. I'm not so much a keyboard player, but it's a real drag if I can't type or use my hand to do stuff. It's like I have to be able to.
I stopped playing basketball as a kid for that exact reason. It's like I would always jam my fingers, and I'm like, I can't do that.
That's why I don't play cards.
I seemed wimpy, but I can't do it.
Man, I would love to get a poker game going here too. That'd be really fun. I missed that too. I had a regular card game out in LA that I used to have a good time playing at. So yeah, a couple social things I need to get going here in LA.
I've
Not
never
LA, in
played
Nashville.
poker with people. I would love to try that. I've never done that.
It's fun. Just so much trash talking. And you talk about like you just bring everybody brings like a nice bourbon or whatever to the table, and you know, it's a good time. We used to play like all these weird oddball games too, like all these high-low games where it's like Omaha, but like all different kinds of rules, different variations of Omaha. I don't know if y'all know what that is, but just different types of poker games that are not your typical 5-card Texas Hold'em kind of game. Or like, you know, 5-card stud or 5-card draw or anything like that. They're just a bunch of oddball games, and you get to learn them over time. And I don't know, it's fun too. You can trash talk and all that stuff too. I mean, that's one thing I miss about dodgeball too, is all the trash talking and stuff. It's a good time.
I've been playing pickleball.
What's that? What's pickleball?
Oh, it's basically a cross between tennis, ping pong, and badminton. It's played in a
That's
small
when the
court with a
ball's on
lower
the
net.
pole and it swings around. There's a swing around the one center pole.
That's tetherball,
No, that's
right?
That's
tetherball.
tetherball. Okay, so I don't know pickleball.
Or pole dancing, depending on
Yeah.
But,
Both very good athletic sports. Let me remind you.
yeah. It's basically, it's almost like a mini tennis court with, you know, you have a paddle, a smaller paddle, almost like a racquetball paddle, but it's wooden, like a paddleball racket. You know, there's high end ones. People are getting graphite rackets with like coarse friction on them.
They have that out in Venice Beach, right? There's courts out there in Venice Beach for pickleball, right?
Yeah.
Because I've seen people playing it. I'm like, that's not really tennis. It doesn't seem like the same kind of rackets, and it doesn't seem like racquetball, because racquetball wouldn't make any sense because the ball would just go flying everywhere.
Correct.
So
it's almost like a hard. It's almost like a hard wiffle ball that you're playing with.
And so it's a little dead.
Yeah, a little on the dead side.
Yeah.
But it bounces. You know?
I mean, it would have to, right? Or otherwise it would kind of fly out all over the place. That's cool. Yeah, that sounds like fun.
I kind of instinctively go to a little bit of trash talking. And I'm just playing it at my gym. There's like really some nice courts since people are more competitive, but I'm just playing at this one gym. I was looking like an absolute jerk to the suburban housewife next to me who was playing, because it's like round robin. It's like, oh shit, did I say that? I grew up in upstate New York in the late 70s. It's the way I speak sometimes.
We need those kind of outlets, though. Trash talk, you know, it's like it's tough. It's tough because like everybody's obviously super, you know, I think more than ever before, sensitive to like hurting people's feelings in any kind of way and everything like that. It's for good reason, right?
Yes.
But at the same time, I think there is a certain amount of like healthy way of like having that as like an outlet. And being able to, like, with people that you're comfortable with, trash talking with your friends is perfully fine.
Yeah.
I agree especially with friends.
Yeah.
I was on Staten Island, New York, was visiting my parents last month, and drove by a court where they were playing handball, and I'm like, this must only be, I remember from my childhood, I'm like, this has to only be a New York thing. I don't think they play handball anywhere else, and they still play it where, you know, you have the outdoor court with the big concrete wall and smacking the little rubber ball with your hands, and there's like 4 people playing like indoor racquetball, but just with your hands. Like,
yeah.
Mike, have you seen it anywhere out in New York? Anybody, you know, maybe Philly or somewhere?
I know my uncle who passed used to play. He played all his life. I used to work with a producer who, that was his thing growing up. He was a competitive handball player.
That is so cool.
Yeah, I see it around once in a while, but nobody I know plays it.
Yeah, it's great, but I think it's a totally New York thing.
I think it is a totally New York thing. Yeah. I think that and stickball are real New York things.
And stickball, I played stickball a lot as a kid.
Yeah.
Is that like
baseball with a stick? It's like a broom handle.
It's like a little rubber ball and a broom handle, and you got to hit it straight down the street.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's my childhood right there.
Yeah.
We would just play with a real baseball and a bat and break windows, I guess, or something like that. You know, we probably shouldn't have been playing with real baseballs and bats in some of the neighborhoods we were playing in.
Where did you grow up, Mike?
Poughkeepsie, New York.
Oh, Poughkeepsie, cool.
Hudson Valley.
Now, how far north is that from the city?
Hour and a half.
Okay, close.
grew up in a bunch of towns around there, Hopewell Junction and Wappinger Falls and that area.
So you're up in
Very
like
nice.
the top area of New York.
No, about an hour from the city.
Oh, so not far at all from.
Hour to an hour and a half. That's where I
Okay.
grew up, but I'm in Jersey now.
Oh, okay.
So,
Okay.
Yeah, you
very
can
precious.
drive from New York City. You can drive another 4 to 6 hours north and still be in New York.
8 hours to get to Buffalo.
Wow. Is it 8 hours? Yeah, crazy.
8 hours from Manhattan to Buffalo. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Big state.
Yeah. Well, California's the same way, right? California's like probably 10 hours to get from top to bottom.
California,
yeah, but it looks long.
Longer
You wouldn't.
than that. Longer than that. Definitely
Yeah.
longer. It's like if I had to guesstimate, yeah, definitely longer than 10 hours. If you went from San Diego all the way up to Oregon border, I would think, unless you were going like super fast.
Right. Is that where you grew up, John? You grew up in California?
No, I'm originally from rural Illinois. So I grew up on a corn and soybean farm outside of Peoria, just in the middle of nowhere.
Wow.
Yeah.
You've got. I noticed you have a Midwest accent, as they say.
That's funny. Yeah, half the time it's just I don't even know what accent I have because I lived in California for 15 years, and it's just I lived in Arizona for like 8 years before that. So, but it's cool to know that like some of my roots are still sticking with me.
So, do you actually grew up farming?
Yeah, we had a corn and soybean farm, and we also had a couple dozen cattle in the immediate vicinity of the farmhouse, which it was our job to feed the cattle and all that stuff. And it was mostly just for personal, like the family got all kinds of cuts of beef, and then they would sell off like the biggest cuts because you could make money with that. But yeah, we had like beef and different cuts of steaks and things year round because we had cattle around. And then, we didn't actually like, I was never involved. We moved away before it got to the point where I was ever like going out into the fields and helping with like any of the big machinery or anything like that. But, it was definitely, we had people that came in and were working the crops and all that stuff. We were mostly like helping out with the cattle, and my parents had a fruit and vegetable garden, huge fruit and vegetable garden that was right next to the farmhouse. And it's just really nice, really peaceful, totally different than like anything that I've experienced in the last like 25 years. I've been a city boy like the entire time since moved away, but I do miss the peace and quiet sometimes. It's nice. It's been really cool here in Nashville. They actually have lightning bugs here. I didn't realize.
Yeah.
They're all over the place, and that was like totally a farm, Midwestern farm thing for me. So it's been cool. Like there's a couple of hints of it. This is the South, but it's like, it's got a little bit of a flavor of the Midwest too with it here. So yeah, they have lightning bugs out in New York at all, or?
Oh yeah. Well, upstate, I grew up with lightning bugs all over the place. Here in Jersey.
Yeah,
sometimes.
We've seen them. And then, there's you see them on the
Island?
East Coast. We would see some, but we spent our summers actually in South Carolina. My grandparents lived on a farm there, and so we would go down for the summers, and lightning bugs, all kind of bugs, but lightning bugs and everything, and then help out. So we got to do farm stuff during the summer, helping out with feeding pigs and chickens and bringing crops. That farm was like a tobacco farm, and they had a bunch of
tobacco.
Yeah, it was tobacco farm for a long part. So this is my grandparents. So they were sharecroppers. So they didn't own the land, but they worked on it. And then when the family who did own it got out of it, my grandparents continued to live on the land. And so they were able to, they pretty much, got their food and raised the chickens. And even though I think the original family had retired and moved on, they pretty much continued to work the land until they passed. And so, for their, just not to sell, but for their own and for their own food and stuff. So we got to kind of experience some of that just kind of going down during the summer. And cool. It was actually just being able to grow up and see New York City versus South Carolina was a big. We even lived there for like 1 year, and before moving back to New York, it was a really cool experience.
What a contrast!
Yeah,
but we definitely had the lightning, collecting the lightning bugs in the jar, and, trying to make your own light
Oh yeah, my sister would like catch them, and my sister tells me that I was the one who did this, and it's up for debate. But like catch a bunch of lightning bugs and then shake the jar up, and then the inside of the jar is just like all phosphorescent.
Dizzy ass lightning bugs bumping into each other.
Yeah, they're just like their guts are all sprayed on the sides of the glass. It's like things you do when your kids. I mean, I know my sister used to do this. Actually, she would collect a bunch of different spiders and put them all in the same jar, not realizing that they probably just start to eat each other.
Yeah.
It's like survival of the fittest. Actually, like there's YouTube channels where they
reality show.
Scorpion versus tarantula. No. But this was like, back in 83 or 84, on the farm edition, pre viral videos or anything like that. It's so funny.
That's funny.
Mike, did you play in any bands when you were growing up?
Yeah, nonstop.
Yeah.
That was my life from 8 till whenever. Always playing in bands.
And drummers are like the people that are the most in demand when it comes to bands.
Yeah, I always thought it was bass players.
Really?
Yeah.
Seems like drummers were always the hard people to find. When I was in a band in college, and maybe it was just the one search that we did where we were trying to find a drummer. We couldn't find a drummer in Tucson, Arizona for a long time. Eventually we found somebody cool. But yeah, interesting. Yeah. I always thought the drummers were like the hardest people to find, especially drummers who knew how to play to the room and the room size and like and just the dynamics of everything. Cause like we tried out with like one drummer who was just a little too all over the place and would just blast everything, even though we were in
that's different.
Room and all that stuff.
See, you gotta listen.
Yeah, drummers are everywhere, but finding the ones that kind of like just kind of play in time and stick to the groove and aren't soloing every 2 minutes. And...
But isn't that like every like member of the band can like go to like 11? Every member of the band can like go off script, right?
Yeah, especially high school bands. It's like it's just raging.
Funny.
It's it's musical adolescence, right?
Totally.
That is so true.
Yeah.
Well, this has been so fun. It's been so fun to hang with you, Mike.
Yeah, nice to chat with you guys. This is great.
Yeah. Well, we should have you back again sometime for another round of Beats and Bourbon.
Anytime. Always great chatting with you guys.
Is bourbon your drink of choice?
It's kind of become my drink of choice the last couple of years.
Wise choice.
Yeah.
Just from my own taste.
Yeah.
What do you tend to like? Anything jump in your head or like that you
Specific
favorite?
Specific bourbon. I had some Weller. I'm spending some time in Cincinnati with my daughter, and it's of course right across the border from Kentucky. There's a lot there's some great bourbons over there. So yeah, Weller I really like. I really like this Angel's Envy.
I don't know Weller. I have to look it up.
Yeah, it's a small. Yeah, all I know is the name. I don't know where it's from.
It's funny. There's one called Willet that I am going to Kentucky some point in the next month to do like some kind of a bourbon tasting trip.
Oh, nice.
Fun.
Because like you can't buy it here. Like they stock it in like the day that it comes in, it's all gone.
Yeah.
And you go up there and you just go, I guess you go up there, you buy a few bottles and you come back.
What's it called?
Willet.
Willet. Okay.
Do you like Whistle Pig? Have you had Whistle Pig?
I haven't had Whistle Pig.
Whistle Pig's really good too. It's not a special Kentucky bourbon. You can get it pretty much anywhere, but it's good stuff.
Yeah.
But if you like Rise, this is I had a bartender was like, oh, if you like Whistle Pig, because they had Whistle Pig there. I'm like, hey, I'd like some Whistle Pig neat. And he's like, well, I'm going to try, let me try this for you instead, because I think you're going to like this a lot. And ended up drinking it like all night. It was so good.
And what was it? That was the Willet?
Willet. Yeah. Willt.
Nice. New Riff is one that I had that I liked.
New Riff?
New Riff.
I'm jotting these down for my trip.
Yeah, New Riff. They're literally right on the Ohio River.
Okay, so New Riff, and there was another one you were talking about that began with a W. Weller. Okay.
Yeah. I think it's a popular distillery, and they've just got a couple of different things. And this is like one of their, I don't know, small batches.
Cool.
Yeah.
It's exciting stuff. One thing, moving locations, like in Tennessee, one of the things I'm really excited about is like traveling to Kentucky and checking all that out. And then I've never been to the Deep South ever. So it's like so close. I can do a weekend trip to any of the southern states. It's gonna be really fun.
Yeah.
But that's cool.
man.
Cool.
Good intel. Thanks for the tips on the bourbon.
Yeah, pleasure. Same to you. Thank you.
Yeah. Well, thanks for the folks who tuned in. We'll be back again sometime soon here. Actually, we do this on Thursday nights, and we did take 1 week away because we were at the Durango. We were actually all at the Durango conference here last week. So but we'll be back again sometime very soon, hopefully next Thursday. Thanks for tuning in, and see you next time.
All right. Cheers,
See you,
everybody.
Mike.